I never thought I'd be the kind of girl to end up in a sugar arrangement. I used to scoff at those dating apps, the ones where older men flaunt their wealth like bait and younger women fall in line with fake smiles and polished charm. But that was before the student loans piled up, my part-time job laid me off, and my apartment rent doubled overnight. Desperation is a hell of a motivator. That's how I found myself scrolling through a site called Lux Connections, my finger hovering over the profile of a man named Dominic Cross, age 42, CEO of Cross Enterprises, net worth somewhere in the stratosphere. Dominic's message was short and confident. Dinner at La Maison, 7 p.m. I'll send a car. I stared at it, heart pounding. He didn't even ask if I was interested, he assumed I would be. And maybe that was what intrigued me. Maybe that was what made me say yes. That night I wore my only decent dress and climbed into a sleek black town car that felt like it belonged in a movie. When I arrived, Dominic was already waiting. Tall, chiseled, dressed in tailored navy blue, he didn't look like a sleazy older man. He looked like money, power, and danger all wrapped in the most intoxicating package I'd ever seen. "I'm not here to play games," he said once we sat. "You'll be spoiled, protected, and adored. In return, I expect loyalty and discretion." I blinked, unsure whether to laugh or run, but neither happened. Instead, I nodded slowly, drawn to the idea of someone taking care of everything. For once, maybe I could just live, and that's when it all began. The next morning, a box arrived at my door. Inside was a Cartier diamond necklace, glimmering like it had been dipped in stars. Beneath it, a note written in sharp cursive, "Wear this tonight. D." I should have been thrilled, and I was mostly, but the extravagance of it made me feel like I was walking into something deeper than I realized. Was this about companionship or ownership? Dinner was held in his penthouse suite overlooking the skyline. Floor-to-ceiling windows bathed the room in moonlight. Dominic poured wine without asking, handed me a glass, then guided me toward the grand piano like we'd known each other for years. "I had your student debt cleared today," he said casually like he'd picked up milk on the way home. My jaw dropped. "You, what?" "Done. All of it. Consider it a gesture of trust," he said, sipping his wine without breaking eye contact. That night we didn't sleep together. Instead, he told me stories of boardrooms, betrayal, and how he built an empire from nothing. And I listened, half terrified, half enchanted. But as I left in the morning, I saw something that made me stop cold. A photo on his entryway table. A woman. Gorgeous. Dark eyes. Long waves of hair. A familiar smirk. It was the exact same woman who had messaged me 2 weeks ago on Lux Connections warning, "He'll ruin you if you're not careful." I didn't know who she was, but she had my attention now. I couldn't stop staring at the photo of the mystery woman. Something about her smile, it was too knowing, too close to mine. I didn't want to snoop, but curiosity clung to me like perfume. Before leaving, I snapped a quick picture of it on my phone, heart pounding like I'd committed a crime. Who was she? Ex-girlfriend? Ex-wife? Maybe someone more dangerous. Later that afternoon, I did what any girl with Wi-Fi and suspicion would do. I reverse image, searched the photo. Her name popped up almost instantly. Celeste Marlowe, a former fashion editor turned socialite. She hadn't been seen publicly in over a year. In fact, most recent posts about her were speculation rumors that she had a nervous breakdown, or worse, disappeared. The rabbit hole got deeper when I found an article dated 11 months ago. Celeste Marlowe, from NYC's It Girl to Gone Girl, last seen with billionaire Dominic Cross. My blood ran cold. I confronted Dominic at our next dinner. "Who's Celeste?" I asked, bracing myself. He paused, lips tightening. "She was someone I cared about. We ended badly." That was it. No details, no emotion, just cold steel in his voice and a wall slammed down between us. That night I couldn't sleep. The necklace he gave me sparkled from my nightstand, suddenly feeling like a collar. The next morning, I received an anonymous email. Subject: "You're in over your head." Attached was a photo grainy, taken through a window. It showed me and Dominic on his penthouse balcony. Someone was watching us, and they wanted me to know. I stared at the photo in the email for what felt like hours. It wasn't just the invasion of privacy, it was the message beneath it. I'm watching you. I've watched others too. I didn't know whether to be terrified or furious. I forwarded the email to myself from a burner account and deleted the original. No way was I letting Dominic see it before I knew who I was dealing with. That day, I met my best friend Tasha for brunch. I hadn't told her much about Dominic, just that I was seeing someone older and very wealthy. But something about this whole thing made me spill. She listened with wide eyes and a tight jaw. "Girl, this sounds like Dateline waiting to happen," she said, stirring her mimosa. "You need to dig into this man's past, not just his bank account." I laughed, but it was hollow. That night, I waited until Dominic was asleep in bed beside me, breathing slow and deep. I tiptoed into his office and tried his laptop. It was locked, of course, but a small leather-bound journal on his desk caught my eye. Inside, it wasn't filled with business notes or travel itineraries. It was names, women's names. First names only, each followed by a date. Some crossed out. One of them, Celeste 11.18.kex. I felt like I'd been punched. My fingers trembled as I flipped through. There were at least 7 names, all different years, all with dates, end dates. Suddenly, Dominic stirred in the doorway. His voice was low. "What are you doing, sweetheart?" I froze, caught red-handed with his secrets in my hands and no idea how to escape. I turned slowly, journal still in my hands. Dominic stood in the doorway like a shadow made real, shirtless, expression unreadable. The silence between us was thick, pulsing with tension. "I couldn't sleep," I said, lying through my teeth. "I was just curious." His eyes flicked down to the journal, then back up to me. "Curious about what exactly?" "I saw Celeste's name," I blurted out. "And others." "What is this, Dominic? A diary? A kill list?" I tried to sound sarcastic, but my voice cracked at the end. He stepped toward me, slow and calm, like a predator soothing its prey. "It's not what you think." "Then tell me what it is." He took the journal gently from my hands, closed it, and placed it back on the desk. They were women I supported, like you, all consenting, all compensated. The dates mark when things ended. "Then why is Celeste's date unfinished?" I asked. Dominic hesitated just for a second. "Because she left without notice. She broke the agreement." It sounded rehearsed and wrong. My guts screamed at me. I didn't believe him, but I smiled. Sweet, play dumb. It's what I'm best at. That night, I slept next to him, fully clothed and wide awake. I waited until I heard his breathing even out again, then slipped into the bathroom. I opened my phone and responded to the anonymous email. "Who are you? What do you want?" The reply came instantly. "I'm Celeste's sister. She trusted me with everything. And if you want to survive this, you'll meet me tomorrow, alone." The next morning, I slipped out of Dominic's penthouse before sunrise, heart hammering like a warning bell in my chest. I told him I had an early hair appointment. He didn't question it. He was already on a call, pacing shirtless across the floor like nothing was wrong, like his whole damn world wasn't made of secrets. I met Celeste's sister at a tucked-away cafe in Soho. She looked nothing like the woman in the photo blonde, where Celeste was dark, freckled, and cautious, eyes always scanning. Her name was Lila. "You shouldn't have come here," she said. "No small talk. He watches everyone. He has people." Her voice was sharp, urgent. Celeste was trying to leave him, not just walk away from the sugar arrangement, expose him. She found out things he'd buried. And then she vanished. "Vanished how?" I asked. "She texted me from a burner phone, said she had proof photos, records, everything. Then she went to meet someone. Never came back." I sat there stunned. "You think I know he did something, but no one will listen. He's too powerful. The cops won't touch him." Lila slid a flash drive across the table. "Celeste backed up her files. If something happens to me, or now to you, this gets leaked. That's the only way he goes down." I took it, but before I could ask another question, Lila froze. "Don't turn around," she whispered. "Just walk out the back. Someone's watching. I stood, palms sweating, every hair on my neck standing straight up. As I walked out, I caught a reflection in the cafe window. A man in a black suit, Dominic's driver. I didn't go home, not to Dominic's penthouse, not even to my apartment. I ducked into the back alley, hardened my throat, and used a side exit that dumped me straight into a busy street. My fingers were trembling so badly, I nearly dropped the flash drive. I shoved it deep into my purse and disappeared into the crowd, praying the driver hadn't seen me clearly. I booked a room in a mid-range hotel under a fake name, a trick Tasha once taught me for emergency breakups. I didn't sleep. I plugged the flash drive into my laptop, closed the curtains, and braced myself. The files were chilling. Hidden folders, emails, screenshots, audio recordings. Celeste had been keeping a log of everything, every gift, every payment, every moment Dominic made her feel watched or controlled. There were messages from other girls too, encrypted under aliases. One girl wrote, "He made me sign an NDA before things even started." I thought it was romantic. Now I know better. But the worst was a folder titled Black Book. It was a list of names, women, dates, financial transactions, and a series of offshore accounts linked to shell companies. One girl had sued and suddenly vanished. No settlement, no trace. Suddenly my phone buzzed. Dominic. I stared at the screen. Didn't answer. Then a text came through. "You left without saying goodbye. Everything okay, sweetheart?" I blocked the number. I knew it wouldn't matter. A man like Dominic didn't need phones to find people. Then another message popped up. Unknown number. "You need to leave the city. Tonight. You're already marked." The warning buzzed in my head louder than the city outside. "You're already marked." I didn't know who sent it, Lila. Someone watching from the shadows, or worse, someone inside Dominic's web trying to play both sides. Either way, the message was clear. I had to vanish. Fast. I packed a bag with only the essentials and left the hotel through the service elevator. I turned off my phone, smashed the SIM, and bought a burner from a sketchy corner store in Brooklyn. My hands were shaking as I booked a one-way bus ticket to Philadelphia under a fake name. I didn't care where I went, I just needed to be gone before he realized I was really gone. But I was already too late. As I walked through the terminal, I saw him. Dominic. Not in a suit. Dressed down, hat low, sunglasses on. He wasn't looking at me, but he was looking for me, like a lion scanning the savannah. I ducked behind a vending machine, adrenaline flooding my veins. I'd seen that look before, calculating, cold. I called Tasha from the burner. "I need help," I whispered. "I need you to meet me at the old loft you used to live in tonight. Only you. No one else." She hesitated. "What's happening, girl?" "I'll explain when I see you." "Just please." That night, I slipped into the abandoned loft through the back alley. It was dusty, forgotten, but safe for now. I waited. Tasha was late. Finally, footsteps echoed. A shadow moved in the doorway. But it wasn't Tasha. It was Dominic, and he was holding my original phone in his hand. I froze. My breath caught in my throat as Dominic stepped into the loft, silent as a storm. The dim light caught the glint of my old phone in his hand. Screen cracked. Dark. "You really thought you could run from me?" he said softly, like he wasn't furious. Like he was disappointed. That was somehow worse. "How did you find me?" I whispered, stepping back. He smiled. "You used Tasha. I warned you loyalty and discretion." My blood turned to ice. "What did you do to her?" "She's fine," he said, and that was the moment I knew she wasn't. Not completely. Dominic set the phone down on a crate between us, like it was a chess piece. "I never wanted it to get messy. You were different, smarter. I thought you could handle the truth." "What truth? That you control women like trophies? That you make them disappear?" He chuckled, slow and cruel. "No, the truth is, they always agree at first. The money, the gifts, the fantasy. But the moment they want more freedom, love, independence, that's when things change. And I can't afford unpredictability. I pulled the flash drive from my pocket, holding it like a grenade. You're done, Dominic. Everything's on here. Every lie, every girl, I've sent backups. If anything happens to me, I know, he cut in. That's why you're still breathing. Suddenly, behind him, movement. A shadow from the stairwell. Lila, gun in hand, eyes locked on him. This ends tonight, she said, voice shaking but steady. Dominic turned slowly, calm as ever, and smiled. Lila stood at the top of the stairs, arms trembling as she aimed the gun. Dominic didn't flinch. He simply turned to face her, like he'd been expecting this all along. You're not a killer, he said calmly, voice echoing off the loft's empty walls. No, she said, voice steady now. But you made me want to be one. I moved slowly, flash drive still in hand, edging toward the crate where my phone sat. She doesn't have to pull the trigger, I said. All we need is the truth. Dominic's gaze snapped to mine. And what do you think truth gets you, sweetheart? Justice? Closure? Please. The world doesn't punish men like me. It rewards us. I don't need the world, I said. Just one headline, one leak, one video. I pressed play on my phone. Well, earlier, while Dominic monologued like a villain with a god complex, I'd hit record. His confession. Every line. The moment they want more, that's when things change. It was all there. His expression finally cracked. You won't make it out alive, he said, voice colder than I'd ever heard it. But before he could take a step, Lila pulled the trigger. The gunshot rang out like lightning. He staggered, fell to his knees, blood soaking through his shirt. You should have stayed quiet, he gasped. And you should have stayed gone, Lila whispered. A month later, Dominic's name was everywhere. Billionaire CEO exposed in explosive scandal. Multiple investigations. Frozen assets. Unsealed NDAs. Women coming forward, one by one. I was in a safe house upstate. A new name. A new start. But scars don't heal overnight. One day I opened a letter with no return address. Inside, just 2 words in crisp handwriting. Round 2? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts, theories, or who your fave character was. Subscribe so you don't miss the next story drop. Whether it's a sequel, spin-off, or a whole new billionaire fantasy, it's coming hot.